Welcome back. Let's turn our attention to the United States now. And there was a much more civilized tone to last night's final debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But the two men, hoping to become the country's next president, still clashed on topics ranging from COVID-19 to race and Russian interference. Let's take a quick look at some of the key moments.
I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job.
You know who I am. You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth.
With the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. I'm the least racist person in this room.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire.
I'm cutting taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes.
And what they do know is you're not paying your taxes.
If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
What is on the ballot here is the character of this country: decency, honor, respect.
Well, from Washington, D.C., we're joined by Lauren Claffey Tomlinson, Republican strategist, and from New York, Bernard Whitman, Democratic strategist and former pollster to Bill Clinton, and Michael Bloomberg. A very warm welcome to you both. Listen, let's start off with the figures just in. We understand that 21.4 million people tuned in to watch that debate last night. My first question to you, Lauren Claffey Tomlinson. President Trump really had to dial it down, and he did, didn't he, last night, to try not to alienate people other than his real core?
He did. I think it was pretty much agreed upon, especially with his advisors, that he should have let Joe Biden speak a lot more in the last debate. And so we saw a little bit of that play out. The mute button helped, but I think also President Trump came prepared to actually discuss some of the issues and let Joe Biden talk about his positions on policy issues that will affect America. And they got what they wanted. I think Joe Biden actually teased out some issues that are going to be very important in swing states. For example, the oil and natural gas fracking issue that has given some swing voters some pause. So they actually have now some real material to go back to voters and say, think before you vote for Joe Biden.
Bernard Whitman, do you think that's the case then? Do you think people watching that debate last night actually might have changed their opinions as there was some discussion of policy? Or do you think that the arguments are so entrenched now, it really just played to people's already pre-existing biases?
It may have made a bit of a difference on the margin, but the truth is Donald Trump needed a knockout blow in this debate, and it was a draw. And a draw goes to the leader. Sure, I mean, he did a bit better if you accept lying blatantly right to the American people time after time after time, and doing it with a straight face and not interrupting is better. That's fine. I mean, the truth is, I agree with Joe Biden's opening statement. Joe Biden said 220,000 Americans have died on his watch. That alone, that single fact alone, should disqualify him from being elected president of the United States. The truth is, I think Joe Biden did extremely well. His righteous indignation at Trump's lack of empathy, lack of caring, lack of ability to connect with the American people, I think served him very, very well. And I think Donald Trump really needed to shake things up in this debate, and I think he failed to do so.
But Bernard Whitman, should Joe Biden really be drawing at this stage in the presidential debate when he's leading so far in the polls? He could have, delivered an absolute blow to Trump last night.
Look, when you're so far ahead, the key thing to do is not to make any mistakes, not to make any guess. And I'm not suggesting that he just sit in his lead, but the fact is this was Donald Trump's debate that he had to win. It was a must win for Donald Trump. He needs to shake up the dynamic. Joe Biden is ahead by double digits nationally. He's ahead by large single digits in many of the competitive battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and the like. In order for this trajectory of this race to change, this was Donald Trump's moment, and I think he failed to deliver on it.
Okay, would you agree with that then? Do you think that Donald Trump failed to deliver on it? We saw so much, didn't we, of his usual bombastic language. Everything's going great, it's going to be great, we're going to have a vaccine next week. But people have kind of become numb to that, don't you think?
They have. I think the greatest thing that Donald Trump did was when he said, I'm not a politician, and you're looking at a 47-year politician who hasn't done anything for you. And I think highlighting that contrast is kind of what Americans have come to expect from Donald Trump. He's going to be inarticulate. He's not exactly a smooth operator or politician with a lot of these things. He's really more of an entertainer. But that being said, that's what his supporters like. And at this point, we're not talking about voter conversions, except for very slim margins in the swing states. We're talking about turnout. And I think that type of rhetoric really applies well to voters to get out the vote in the next couple of weeks and on election day, especially since we've had so much early voting happen, historic levels in the United States so far. But we still have a lot of people who have indicated that they're going to be voting on election day in person, and it's really important for Donald Trump to target those people and get them out.
Talking about, turnout, Bernard, I just wonder what your view is, given the contrast that naturally is being made between Joe Biden and his predecessor, Barack Obama. Of course, we saw him speaking yesterday, didn't we? So dynamic, so critical of this administration. The comparison's unflattering to Joe Biden, perhaps due to age, whatever that may be. But the fear surely for Democrats then is that his lack of imagination or perhaps, dynamism will be reflected in the polls, that people won't be turning out on November the 2nd.
Look, we already have data to prove that is completely untrue. Look, Donald Trump may not be a politician, but you know what he is? He's a liar. People understand that he's a liar. He's not credible. People don't believe him. They're tired of his BS. They're tired of hearing all this happy talk. They're tired of him saying the vaccine is going to be a few weeks away when it's not. They're tired of him saying that COVID is almost over when it's not. The truth is 45 million people have voted. That is a third of all the votes cast in 2016. This shows that enthusiasm for Joe Biden is enormous all across the country, up and down the ticket. I think we're going to have a greater turnout in 2020 than we've ever had historically. I think we're going to have greater turnout among women who honestly despise Donald Trump. We're going to have a greater turnout among young people. We're going to have a greater turnout among people of color. I think you're going to see huge enthusiasm, as we've already seen. And in the states that do report party registration, half of the early voters have been Democrats. Now, we can't rest on our laurels. We can't let up. We have to go out and vote. So if you're watching this and you're an American, please, please, please vote.
Lauren, given what Bernard's saying there, the divisiveness of President Trump has got to be a worry for strategists like yourself and fellow Republicans hoping to see him return to the Oval Office.
Some of the voters. But listen, enthusiasm is high. You've seen it on both sides. I mean, Republicans are highly energized for President Trump. Those who do support him greatly. And people who support Joe Biden are doing so in great numbers as well. As far as the early voting, it's not all Democratic. I mean, we've seen early polls suggest that it was leaning heavily, 22 points at least for the Democrats on early voting. But that gap has closed over the past few weeks. There's only 10, I think they have a 10-point lead now with some of the early voting. So I think this race is a lot closer than some of the data suggest and some of the early polls suggest. I think when you're looking at the swing states that'll really make a difference with the Electoral College, it's going to be very slim margins. So, the Democrats are saying that, there's going to be a huge referendum on Trump, but I just caution everyone to take a look at the data as it comes in and know that this is going to be tight and it probably won't be resolved immediately.
Bernard Whitman, what did you make of Donald Trump's decision to go after Biden's family links, the idea of his corruption, given that he himself has placed members of his own family inside the administration like no previous president has done, and given the allegations about him being a billionaire and corrupt as well? Do you think that it was perhaps ill-advised of him to take that approach?
Look, he can't resist leveling personal attacks. You talk about a politician. This is a cheap shot. It also happened to be a lie. Everything he talked about with respect to Joe Biden, with respect to Hunter Biden, has been disgraced, dismissed. All the chief heads of the CIA for the last, I think, 20 odd years have said it's a lie. This is Donald Trump, classic Donald Trump. He doesn't want to talk about the issues. He doesn't want to take responsibility for the economy. He doesn't want to take responsibility for COVID. So what does he do? He makes up facts, believes they're true, and tries to smear his opponent. This is unbecoming of the president of the United States, and I don't think it's going to serve him very well, because not only is it not true, people don't care.
Lauren, I just want to ask you about one fact that he didn't lie about, and that was that 500 Mexican kids have still not been reunited with their children. And his defense with that was that they're being very well looked after and that they were in a clean environment. Did that resonate well with you? Did that sit well with you?
I don't think so. This is a real sore spot with the administration. And I think it depends, of course, which voters you're asking. Hardcore Trump voters believe that the administration acted properly, enforcing law and order and the like. But I think especially with suburban women and others, the family separation policy was a real problem in the administration. And I think that anytime that Trump is talking about it, he's losing. And I don't think that was necessarily his cleanest argument to convince people that what is going on and is still going on with those children was fair or right. So I do think that was a weak moment for the Trump administration.
Okay, just a final thought then to Bernard Whitman, and just about how confident you're feeling that not only the election will go your way on November the 2nd, but that if it doesn't, that if it does, that you will have a clean transition into the new year.
Well, once burned, twice shy. I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm not taking the polls for granted whatsoever. I think we need to make sure to get out there and vote. My biggest concern actually is not that Trump will win. I think that's a very, very small percentage chance. My biggest concern is that Trump will steal the election. So we have to be vigilant. We have to be careful. We have to be do everything we can to ensure security of the ballots and hold him to task. Donald Trump is not going to get away with stealing this election. The American people are sick of him. They want to get rid of him. And by the way, he happens to be probably the most corrupt president in history, rewarding his family and actually making money, which is illegal, while he's in office because he's the president.
Bernard Whitman for the Democrats and Lauren Claffey Tomlinson for the Republicans. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you so much.